Have you ever wanted to create multiple streams of income, securing your financial future? Today's guest is going to talk all about that and how we can actually have confidence in the different things that we're doing. Don't go anywhere because this episode is going to be fire.
So the big question is this: how can we achieve financial freedom, quit the 9-to-5, and live a mighty life? That is the question, and this show will give you the answer. You are listening to The Mighty Mike Show with your host, Mighty Mike Reed.
Welcome, you guys, to another episode of The Mighty Mike Show, where I love to bring you guys just the absolute best guests that are out there just crushing it. And you guys know that one of the things that I hate is being distracted from all the different things that come at you and different income types and things like that. But this is something that's very different that I think you're going to be interested. Mr. David Church, how you doing?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. Anytime I get to talk to anyone who is crushing it, that's on the same wavelength of like, hey, let's see how we can best benefit in this world and how we can make more money so that we could go help more people. I'm excited.
Okay, awesome. And that's exactly what we do. And I love it, man.
Yeah, good stuff. So why don't we take just a minute and touch on the personal so people kind of know who you are. You kind of the kind of guy we would want to even hang out with, right? Take just a minute. Tell us about you and your personal life.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to hang out with me, but I appreciate the thought there. My name is David Church. I live in Texas. I've got a great wife. I've got two small kids. I have my youngest turned 6 yesterday. My oldest is 7, so they're in kindergarten and second grade. So actually right after this interview, I'm swinging by to pick them up from school. We do a lot of recreational activities. We go to a great church. Love living in the area that I'm in. And formerly I was a high school math teacher, believe it or not, for 18 years. And I just came home and I told my wife, I go, I'm done. And she said, well, you gotta contribute to the household, which I knew I did. So I started side hustling, found this income, and just, it's been life-changing for me ever since.
How cool. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is people are out there like in a job that they maybe it's okay. Like they put in a lot of effort. Like you put in a lot of effort to become a math teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like you're selling. It's like the thing that keeps people trapped in whatever it is that they're doing that they don't enjoy. It's because they've invested so much time. But at what point do you like rip the Band-Aid off and go ahead and just start that? What made you decide to make that leap? I'm just curious.
Well, and not to down talk or slam our educational system, but I was giving out, I say I was giving out, a lot of my students were failing, not only in my class, but all the way across the board. So I did a survey. I had 40 to 42 students in my classes. And when I did a survey, 70% of them had failed previous level math. That means in a class size of 40, somewhere between 28 to 30 up to 32 had failed previous level math. So I get this classroom of 40 students, well over half of them had failed. I'm expected to have them at a certain grade level. And it just, what they were doing was being pushed along. And when I started teaching in the early 2000s, it was completely a different educational system than what it was in the late. So again, I'm not out to slam the educational system. It wasn't for me at that point. There was a lot of pressure, and I felt really bad for educators. In fact, I talked to one of the teachers there the other day, and he was so stressed about passing kids. He actually put the answers of the final exam all over the wall, and he said those who wanted to pass, they just had to go up and write the answers down. And I'm like, wow, that's just the and he's tenured and everything, and it's just really bad on the amount of pressure that we were getting. It wasn't the same. So I came up with a business plan. I stepped out of education, just never came back, and it was just life-changing for me. So it was great.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some of this stuff that obviously so people could take advantage of it. I'm in no way like, this is not sponsored video. We just really I really want people to know about what's going on here. Okay. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, like, I'm just curious. So the people that we're able to help the most is often us a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Is it an itch for you to not is it hard for you not to just call every math teacher or every teacher that you can relate to and be like, hey, there's this other thing I'm doing?
Well, and it's hard because there's a freedom out there. And when you work for yourself, it's kind of scary because sometimes it feels like I have to be in the office, or I have to be working, or I have to be doing, and it's like, no, I'm free. Now, you do have to focus on whatever your side hustle is. You do have to focus on that and make that your priority. but there is freedom. But everyone has that check, and it's like you go and you clock in, you do your time, you clock out, and everyone's on that system. And absolutely, I wanted to say, hey, you could do this, you could be totally free, and you have to want it, and you have to be willing to make that leap. But it's not only that with math teachers; it's like in my business, I see people. I have an Uber driver right now that has posted 6 checks. He's made over 50 grand in the last 3 months, and he's killing the business. And he's in Florida, and he loves it. And the difference is those who do the work and those who don't do the work. You got to get in. You just got to be willing to do the work and really train yourself to. You're accountable to yourself and nobody else, and that's the major difference.
That's so true. I have an ex-girlfriend of mine. She would always say, why are you working for, it was a decent pay, right? But it was nowhere close to what she deserved for how her skill level was so good. And we actually ended up partnering on one of my companies. I'm like, if you just build the websites part-time, I'll partner with you. And so she is my main partner with mightywebsitebuilder.com. And, but what's crazy is a lot of people they never meet somebody like that can actually get them into it. And her reasoning was just golden. She's like, Mike, not everybody has the drive to work and post reels and be up at 8 o'clock at night scrolling Instagram to just find one more little tip that they could share with their audience. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody has that. And so if you don't have that, you better have some high level career that's going to pay you, that's going to give you plenty of time off and pay all your taxes and this kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. Well, and the tax benefit of being self-employed. I mean, I actually not only do I make more money, but I spend less money on taxes because first of all, I have a great CPA, but you could rent out, your office, you could rent out everything's, and even if your office is in your house, like everything's so tax
Yeah.
deductible. It's so nice. So you probably know
Yeah.
that we're not here to talk about taxes, but it's been wonderful. So
No, yeah. No, it's powerful. Definitely. So let's dive into what this is. I'm sure someone who's watching this right now is thinking like, okay, tell me what it is. So let's dive into it, and how can it really relate to someone who's a realtor, right? That's my primary audience. Someone who's a realtor or a real estate investor who's pretty much just investing passively. Like, how can they step into doing something like this and be able to benefit on a
It's real
large?
estate that got me to discover this. I've done quite a few fix and flips. In fact, I've done 3, and I have people bring me properties all the time. So I was side hustling with real estate in as I was a math teacher, and there was a condo in Paramount, California that I was going after. The guy, we were trying to get the courts to award him. It was his mother's estate. She had passed, and what happened was it went up for auction. What I didn't realize is the Bank of America, whoever took it up to auction, it sold for over the asking price. Well, that family estate was the seller of the property, and it was a forced sell, meaning that they had to sell the property. What I didn't know is when that bottom number gets met. So for most point, like let's say 300,000 is owed by the time you pay attorney fees and everything. If that house sells for 400,000, I always thought that the extra proceeds went to Bank of America. What I didn't know is as long as Bank of America, sometimes a bank will discount the property, but generally they don't discount the property. They put it out at its full amount. When that gets hit, anything over the asking price goes back to the seller to the owner of that property. They're the seller. So I have gotten people paid. We've recovered over $35 million of unclaimed funds that people have. Right now, it's estimated that there's $100 billion of unclaimed funds in the United States, 15 billion of tax overages, 15 billion of mortgage overages, just to start. So there's a lot of money out there that people don't know they have. I just got a guy paid, and it was a smaller deal. It was in Florida. Well, I won't say smaller. He had just under $20,000. He had a property that he had inherited in Florida. He lived in California. He couldn't afford the taxes on it, so he let it go. So it was a tax auction. So I called him, and I said, this went for over the asking price. And the first question he asked me is, how much are you going to charge me? And I said, nothing. You're going to pay me nothing. When I get paid, I'll take 30-40%. So I'll make anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000. I'll set up the paperwork, which is fairly easy. I'll file the paperwork in court. I'll pay for the notary. All you have to do is sign the docs, and you get these back to me. He does have to show me ID. I build that rapport where I build that trust with him and get that trust. And you've really got to know what you're doing. So he ended up getting about 12,000 for that deal, which was pretty nice. And I have a similar story with a lady with her husband had passed. We were during COVID. She really needed money, and I called her, and I'm like, hey, did you know you had I think hers was like 17, 18,000. And I have story after story where I've contacted individuals. There's individuals that I contact that have said, oh yeah, we know about the money, we're working on it. But there's plenty of individuals who I've contacted that have no idea this is out there. And if you
Mm.
wait too long, this money gets escheated. Many cases, it gets escheated back to the government. You don't want the government taking money that you could go back into the hands of the people that it belongs to. So sometimes we call this the Robin Hood method. But what we do is we contact people and we get them paid.
I like it. So a couple devil's advocate things. Okay. You
Mhm.
mentioned one of them. You mentioned one of them. Like, why don't they just do it themselves? Some people do it themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the other one that I was thinking about is short sales. So like what you're talking about is when the bank doesn't do a short sale from the auction, they actually auction it off, but they auction it at full price.
So yeah, and I want to hit both of those. I want to hit the first one more time. So when we talk about people doing it themselves, what I do is I educate people that they have this unclaimed money. So I'll call you up and let's say I say, Mike, I don't call you up and say, hey, Mike, did you know you have $20,000 you didn't know you have? I mean, that's the biggest gimmick. You're going to hang up the phone, and I deserve to be hung up. But we have a pretty script, and this is a total freebie for everyone listening to this call. But what I do is I'll call up, I'll say, this is David Church trying to reach Mike. Mike, I'm calling you about the property on 123 Main Street. Are you aware that when the county or Bank of America or Wells Fargo took this up for auction, are you aware that this went for over the asking price? And then I'll even say like the asking price was for 300. This property went for 350. Well, I've given you a lot of data. I've given you your name. I've given you the property address. I've given you the lien holder on the property. I've given you the amount that it went for auction on. So I've given you a ton of data that you didn't know about.
You're
So
credible.
you're
Yeah.
like, okay, wow, this guy is now. If I told you I never got hung up on, I'd have no right to be on this interview, But it's just I have been hung up on. It happens. People say, and then when people hang up on me, like some of the courts, this is public information. You could look at this. So I follow up, and a month later, if they haven't claimed it, I'll just say, hey, I tried you a month ago. I know it was probably a bad time. I want to let you know that this is what happened. So it starts off with educating. And many cases, I'll let people know, hey, yeah, you can bypass me. But a lot of times, if I give you that kind of education, I tell you about this, and you're going to look at me as, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So that's going to draw you. Now, I've had plenty of people I've gotten paid. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a lady who sounded like a sweet grandmother, and she's like, I really want to go with you. I really want to do this. And 2 weeks later, I looked and she was doing it herself. And, that happens, so people can't, and just like real estate, you're doing a real
Yeah.
estate deal and you're trying to do a wholesale deal. And I wholesaled and then I went into flipping, and it's the same scenario. So people will go around you, but I have plenty of cases where I've gotten people paid. I've handed people checks. I have an interview of a guy
Mm.
where I hand him a check and he almost breaks down crying. It's awesome. And I'm actually doing that more. Like I'm getting paid more and more with mortgage overages, and I'm knocking on people's door and I'm saying, hey, here's 15,000. Here's the 18,000 that you've been wanting for, the 30,000. And there's some deals out there for hundreds of thousands, and some of my students have collected those, and it's been pretty awesome. Now going to a short sell, and you have this. So every once in a while, the bank will have some common sense, and they'll notice, like, let's say Yucca Valley, California. I saw this not that long ago. There was a property that they were selling for about 70, 80,000, and they owed 150 on the loan. Well, the bank may still take it up for auction, but they may discount the note. They may start the auction off at 50,000. And if they have any
Yeah.
common sense, they'll do this, but they don't do this enough. And say they owe 150 and that property sells for 90. Well, they started the auction off at 50. That additional 40,000 is going to go back to the trustee of the bank because they had the property and they know it. So you'll see, similar to a short sell in the auction, it's not quite a short sell. Now, a short sell, I've done quite a few short sales. I've bought them before as a real estate investor, and I've come in, and one of the gals that I got, and this was one of the most incredible stories. I actually got her cash for her property. The trustee, the bank agreed to do it. I don't know, and I get in a lot of story here, but we were going for this property, and the bank would not approve it. And this lady had really severe medical issues. So what we did is we served the bank with papers. We showed them the lady's health. We showed them that she was under hospital care. We showed them that she had the will written on a napkin. But when they saw everything, and we said, we're going to let the judge know that this lady can't even get outside and walk, let alone you're foreclosing. Well, we had the bank's attention. They stopped the sale from September and they postponed it to December. At that point, we worked with the bank. We showed them, and this was in Moreno Valley, California. We showed them the the property value. We showed them what it was, and we actually put a $10,000 stipend in for her, which the bank agreed to, which really surprised me. So you get short sales, but there's not really, most of my short sales, the bank doesn't want the owner to have anything. They're pissed that they're losing money. They're pissed that they're taking a loss, and they just want the owner out of the property. And I'm not allowed to give the owner any compensation, unfortunately, because when you go in with the short sale, the bank is taking a loss. So yeah, there's no funds really for short sale.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now you said this was in California. Is that primarily where you do it, or all over the
When I
country?
do real estate flips, I've done California and Texas are my two bread and butter. Southern California, I've done flips in LA, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino. Those have been my main areas I've worked. In Texas, I've done a lot of flips in the surrounding Dallas area, which there's a lot more opportunity. I love California, but it is in flipping, but it is a saturated market. What I like about surplus funds is I'm not calling up and I'm not getting I'm not having to put up tens of thousands. Like I just recently had a deal by a bank and it ended up being where it didn't go through, but it was in Orange County. It was in, I'm trying to think of the name. It was in a nice area of Orange County, and the bank wanted to go ahead and they wanted to they wanted to, it was bank owned, and they wanted you to come in with 100,000 down, $100,000 EMD. You're not doing that with surplus funds. What you're doing is you're calling people, you're letting them know that they have money. And let's say you're a wholesaler, you might make 5,000 on a deal. I could write a book on how many times people try to snake me out of a deal as a wholesaler. Now, I was a very successful wholesaler. I had my own real estate club, but in surplus funds, let's say I find 30,000, 40,000. That's my average deal that I see out there with the bank auctions. And I call someone, I could get anywhere. They might negotiate me down to 10%. That seldom happens, but it happens. I'm walking out for $3,000. $3,000 is better than nothing. But usually I'll come in at 20 to 30%. So I'm getting 20 to 30, and that my client's getting the 70, 80%. And I'm walking off with anywhere from, $6,000 to $8,000 to $9,000 of money that I'm getting. And literally, like, we just did a deal last week where we made 11,000. The guy submitting the paperwork, actually, he's signing with the notary as we speak on this interview. And then we've gotten 2 more notaries scheduled for mortgage auctions, both right in the 8,000 to 9,000. I mean, literally, if you did one of these a week and you made $5,000 a week, you're making 20,000 a month. And I have people doing that right now. And I know that sounds like people are saying that's too good to be true. I have people that are actually doing that right now in the program, and it does work. We've got the checks, and we have people with the testimonials in our private Facebook group that shows a lot of that. So yeah, it is happening.
That's so cool. So just to give people context for how this works, and maybe you don't want to give away all the goods, but just like the context, like how do you find people this auctions? I mean, are you pulling lists? Is there a list
That's
gatherers
a
that
great
you can
question. That is
pay?
probably the number one, and I get that on my YouTube channel a lot. What I tell people to do is look in their local area and see the auctions that are happening in their area, and go and watch an auction. Like, I had jury duty. I couldn't get out of it as a business owner. And I walked out, and to my left, there was a mortgage auction, and to my left, there was a tax auction happening. I had my video. I thought I was a kid in a candy store because I have students. I'm videoing this. I'm like, guys, these are the people you're getting paid right here. It was awesome. Go watch a live auction, and then go in the court and say, hey, I noticed that 123 Main Street, it was going up for sale, and it sold for money over the asking price. What's happening to that? Now, you don't want to go to the court, and you don't want to say, I want to be a claims locator. That's what we call ourselves, and I'm going to get people paid, because they hate people like us. But what you do is you want to go in the court and you want to say, hey, I noticed this property went for over the asking price. Where's this information? Where do you keep it? And if they say why, what I always say is it's public information, and I have the right to know this, and I'd like to research this. And usually there's some files. Like a lot of my courts, I go online and I could see the auction. I could see who owned it. I could see what's happening with the funds. And I've gone into courts, and I have access to what I call the back files. There's some sort of online. Some will charge you 10, 15 bucks to do this. Pay 10 or 15 bucks. I'd gladly pay a few bucks to get to learn where this information is at. Most of my courts do it for free. And you could see if the funds have been claimed. You could see if a lot of times it'll say notice. Now, when they send a notice, they're going to send it to you in a little tiny like white postcard, and it's going to say like notice of funds or something. And people, it often gets misplaced or lost. So it's going to show that got mailed. It's going to show the information there. What you do is you contact your client and you educate them. You let them know that. So most of the courts do. And I always say start off small. I had a student in who went after the courts that I go after, and I work Florida a lot. I'll tell that I work tax overages in Florida. That's kind of my bread and butter. I'd assumed that followed me in my steps and went to my courts exactly. And he got a $30,000 deal at 30%. The notary did not have the guy sign it. It was stamped and everything, but the notary did not get the signature on the file, which I think he should have gone after the notary for this. So he was so happy. Well, he got a letter of denial in the mail, certified mail from the court, and it was saying that the documents were incomplete. When he tried to contact his client about signing it, his client had a change of mind, or they were missing an action, and he never got paid on that deal, and he was devastated. There's deals out there for $300 or $400. Work for, I mean, you go into any major corporation and you want to work. You look at the story. You have got Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness. You look at him. I mean, he worked for free for the first several months of his life. You know, in the story that go in, get a couple deals done for free. You know, where you're making virtually nothing, and learn the system, learn how it works, and you're going to say, "Wow, I can do this. I know how to do this." Then if you mess up, you're messing up on a small deal. And you mess up on something small, so boom, you no worry, you know not to do that mistake twice, and that's what it. So when I showed the guy, he's like, "What can I do?" And it's hard. He had the stamp for the notary. He just needed a signature, and the notary already verified that the signature was there. So I couldn't tell him that. I had to tell him legally he had to get a signature from his client on that. And I just said, here's legally what you have to do. And yeah, unfortunately, he's not working the business to this day. So, yeah.
You know what I love most about this, David, is as a wholesaler or someone who does creative finance, I am always farming for deals. And my team, I have virtual assistants calling and stuff. And oftentimes what I've noticed is the more and more you learn, the more tools you have in your tool belt. You can either wholesale it because you don't want it to keep it in your portfolio. You can do creative financing. You can do Airbnb if it happens to be in a really great, like Smoky Mountains or, Orlando, right? Well, Kissimmee, technically near Disney, different places like that. And then this is just an extra tool that you can have in your tool belt where it's like, look, they wouldn't listen to me when they were in pre-foreclosure. They didn't listen to me. And I already know they have 200,000 in equity. It went to auction. They were in denial about what was going to happen. It went to auction. And it just stays on your radar. Is that kind of what is that in your wheelhouse? Is that kind of what you do? Or do you just
a lot
go
of our
straight?
clients do. I usually go straight after the foreclosures. I don't look at a lot of the pre-foreclosures, but we do teach a little bit of that. And a lot of our coaches do. And I've had people call people and say, hey, you know what? Your house is going up for auction on Monday. Yeah, I know that. I believe it's going to go for over the asking price. I have some people that even start the contract process before the auction. That way, after the auction, they can go and claim it. I've had people do that. I personally have not done that, but many of my students have and have been very successful with that. And then, yeah, a lot of them start that relationship with people. And I had some actually get a house deal that way. They're like, hey, by the way, would you just want to sell me your house for X amount of dollars and let me just take in and take over?
Yeah, if you're going to lose 30, 60, $50,000 anyways, anywhere in there anyway after the auction, why not just discount your property that much? I will pay you cash for it and we can move forward right now. And you don't have to have the bad credit of having the foreclosure actually happen on your credit and stuff. That's really cool. So this really does fall right in line. And it's something that happens after the auction, which unfortunately, that's usually when the people are kind of SOL, and you can't help them anymore. And now they have bad credit for the rest of their life. And they're having to lease from me at $500 or $600 more per month to own a house on a real estate contract. And it's just not fun. So that's really cool. So how can people actually take advantage of something like this? I know you said you have a program, a mastermind. What do you?
So we have everything. And if you guys want to contact me, my email is david@surpluslist.com, surplus and then list, one word.com. You're welcome. I have a YouTube channel. I'm pretty big on LinkedIn. I have an Instagram following of like 44,000. So feel free to get in contact. I hope that's okay that I say that, but feel free to get in contact with me. Yeah. We have a course as basic as $99 a month. You can cancel at any time. It teaches you how to do state funds, which a lot of people like. State funds is called the low-hanging fruit because that's money that people don't know they have oftentimes, or they've inherited and they just haven't collected it. And it's like, it's same thing. It's like, hey, you had a bank account at 123 Main Street. You never got, you haven't collected this or whatever. And again, you call and the biggest thing I could give you is on script. And some people start this for free without the program. And by all means, like I'm not out here to say there's a lot of programs out there. I would say what makes mine most successful, and we have a lot of success. Like if you go into Trustpilot and you look at us, we're pretty. We have like a 4 point something rating last time I looked. What makes us more successful is you get coaching, a lot of coaching in our program. Every Monday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, I do what's called a live cold call. I call people and I let them know that they have unclaimed funds. Anybody in any level of our program can jump on and listen to that call. And like I just got a check from one of those calls. It was a smaller one, but I've gotten several checks just from that alone. So people get to hear the modeling. And then our coaches, we have 2 or 3 coaching calls depending on what level of the program you get into. We have upper level programs where we give you like mortgage overage leads. Like I have a guy who just got a very nice deal on a mortgage overage lead where we gave him, and then we work it for you and we split the difference and we show you how to do it. So there's a lot of different ways. And some people will just watch my YouTube channel. Like I've gotten people say, hey, I watch your YouTube channel. I'm working on a state fund still. This helped me. That's fine. Go at it. And then when you want to get into the higher end, if you could do that, great. If you need some help, contact me and I'll go over our options with you. We've had a lot of success with it.
That's so cool. And listen, I am a big believer of mentorships. Like you said, you could go out there and take little tidbits of the information, Google certain things, spend hours and hours researching, or you could just pay somebody. And honestly, you said, what are you calling it? A mastermind that has a course inside?
Yeah, we have a mastermind, and in our mastermind, our goal is that you make like you make your money back within the first 90 days of the mastermind. And what you do is we give you a lot of the training. We give you a lot of the mindset. There's a day trip to the Bahamas and that. And then we come back and we do a weekend retreat after that. So we do the Bahamas like on a Friday. It's like we take you out there at 6 a.m. and you go out there and then we're at a Sandals resort and we do a lot of mindset and then we look at your business and then we go back and we finish that over the weekend. And literally, we take you through a pretty intense training, but we teach you how to automate it. We teach you how to scale the business. We teach how to scale in our regular program too, because we want you to learn the business, and then we want you to learn like if you get 1 deal a month and you're making $5,000 a month, that's better than what most households are making in the United States at a job. But if you could scale your business, automate it, get some CRMs and a phone system in and some dialers in, and we show you what we use, and you could do a deal a week, and you're making that. Say it's 3,000, which is a pretty easy deal. I mean, you should be able to get at least 1 deal at 3,000. And out of every 10 deals, you should immediately close 2 to 3 of them. And long-term, you should close 4 to 5 of them. And that's what we try to teach you how to do is how to get that long-term revenue and how to scale your business. And literally, if you're not hitting 6 figures, so all of our programs have a money back guarantee. Our upper level programs have a 90-day money back guarantee, where if you're not hitting the success, now we do, one of our coaches will get with you and why are you not hitting that success? What can we do to help you to be more successful? Are you calling? Are you looking at the list? Or I have people that do emails. I have people that do texting. I always say know your laws. I have people that do mailers. And I have one guy that got 3 deals in about 2 weeks ago. He got 3 deals in 2 weeks just by, hey, I'm with this company and your house went for over the asking price at no cost to you. I can help you retrieve these funds. I'll get a percentage. And he puts the data right. Again, it's educating. Here's what happened. Here's what we'll do. Here's my contact information, and boom, he's getting deals that way. And he doesn't even need to call people. So we teach all that in the course, and we go over all that. But the goal is that you're going to be successful. And I hate to say this, but I have many students in many areas that have passed me. Like I do tax overages in Florida, and my lead coach, I'm pretty sure she's passed me on deals in Florida right now because she's doing like multiple a month. Where I'm teaching the coaches and I'm doing a lot. So I still do deals. I just have stepped back, but you get a lot of programs out there. And I always wonder, like they say that 80% of people who have programs have either never worked them or they don't work them at all. And it's like, we're actually hands-on doing the programs. You're getting cold calls by me. You're getting the coaching. And like you said, the mentorship, we're really big on student success because if you're successful, we're successful. So 100%.
That's very cool. Yeah, I love Florida, how open they are with all their online stuff. I mean, they have online auctions, online public data. California is similar, but that's really cool. I don't know about New Mexico or Texas. Do they have more open? Is it open?
Yeah, Texas, I've actually have worked state fund deals where I've been paid out through a few of my students. I haven't worked the tax or mortgage overage deal in Texas, but a lot of my students have. I believe in tax overages, there's a cap, and I think it's $1,000. I'd have to look at that one though, because again, I've never done the deal, but many of my students have. And again, some of those are happy, they do a deal or two a week. But if you go through an attorney and you do a couple, you do some trust accounts and you could throw some extra fees on there, they make a little more than just $1,000. Like Arizona has a cap of 2,500 on for mortgage auctions. And a lot of my students just do 1 to 2 deals a week. Well, that's 2,500 you're making a week by one deal. That's not bad, and then you do 4 of those a month, you're at 10 grand a month, 120,000 a year. And there's like billions of dollars of these funds out there that people like. I talked to a woman not that long ago in Arizona where she called me back. I called her and just said, "Hey, this property, I'm trying to reach your son." She called me, she was sobbing a little bit. Her son was had been deceased, and she's like, "We can really use these funds. What do we need to go for it?" And that's where you don't want to say, "Oh, let me get you a contract and let me do this." Like when someone opens up to you've got to learn how to listen. Just like wholesaling, you talk to someone who's in financial distress, they've lost their job or they've lost a loved one, and you got to hear them out. And you got to be authentic, and then you hate to hear those stories. You empathize with your clients, and typically, I've never not had a deal when I empathize, and I sometimes even said, "Hey, if you want, here's my info. If you want to talk, if you want to think about this, and I'm here if you need me, and I'm really sorry for your situation. Call me when you're ready." That goes a lot further than, "Okay, here's a contract. Go ahead and sign." Because you come off really cold, but you will have a lot of emotions. You will have a lot of stories, and just like every wholesale, every flip I've ever done, that house has a story. Every single real estate deal that I've done, every single unclaimed property deal that I've done, it has a crazy story to it. That's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. One thing that people who aren't in the industry a lot of times will hear whatever they hear on the news and want to be like, "Oh, these guys are shark," kind of like ambulance chasers. Attorneys got a bad name back in the day for chasing ambulances. "Here's my card," or whatever. But the reality is, what I have learned is that, you basically get paid in these situations for helping people, right? Like if you're not in the business to actually help people, then I say get out of the business. Some people just staunchly just disagree with me, but they're like, "No, we're trying to make money." And I get that whole like go, bro money, let's go make money, get that bag or whatever. But what I've learned is that if you have that mentality and you don't actually want to help people, first of all, you're not going to be as successful because it'll come across when you communicate with people. And then the next thing is that you actually won't be able to sleep well at night. You'll know that you know, and so I love it. It sounds like a great opportunity. One more time, how can people, is there a certain website people can go to or just email you?
They can email me, david@surpluslist.com. That's probably the best way to get started. We are transitioning platforms right now. So, or if they look me up at Instagram, I'd probably show up, or LinkedIn is a good way to get a hold of me. I do have a ebook right now that has 30 case studies. I am giving that away for free. So if anyone emails me and they listen to the show, so it's david@surplus, SURPLUS list.com. You can just email me and just put ebook. Please send me a copy of your free ebook. I'll give that to you. And I've had a few people, in fact, on my ebook, I had an English teacher edit it for me, and he wrote me an email. He said, "Wow, I've never heard of this industry before, and you have me as a believer." Even when I was finishing up the ebook, I had a $30,000 check arrive, and I said, I put that in the ebook at the very end, and he emailed me. He goes, "Dude, I'm such a believer of this," and it was really awesome to hear that. Like he was an English professor, and I found him on Upwork, and I put a job out like, "Hey, can you edit my ebook?" And he's like, I'm such a believer. But yeah, I would love to give you my free ebook, and that would be it. And if you find me on Instagram, or if you find me on YouTube, if you put David Church, I'd probably be the 4th or 5th one down. LinkedIn, if you put me in, I'd probably show up too. And feel free to email me or contact me. And Mike, I really appreciate being able to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. What is your parting piece of advice for that person who right now is writing down your email? They're getting ready to send you this email. What is your parting piece of advice for them?
I'd like people to know what they're getting into before they come in our program. I would say that being on this end of the desk, almost like teaching, man, it's like with my students, but I see success and I see failure, and you're going to do one or the other. You're either going to be successful or you're going to fail. And those that are successful do the work. Like you get in, you try a couple small deals. You might fail at one. I had a deal I got a while ago, and the guy was in IRS trouble. As the funds were being transferred to me, the IRS came in and said, "Oh, we're going to take these. This guy's in IRS trouble." And I had already owned those funds, but the IRS doesn't care. They went ahead and took the funds, but there's plenty of money to go around. You might have a deal or two that falls through, that fails, or like the lady I told you about, but there's plenty of deals. And if you go into my YouTube channel, my LinkedIn channel, I'm showing check after check where not only have I received like 17,000, 15,000, 20,000, there's plenty of checks that my students receive. You do the work, you get involved, you pull the trigger, and you're going to be successful. That's basically it.
That's so cool. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on the show, guys. If you don't take action on this, like, I'm going to send you an email here shortly, David, because I'm excited to hop in the program and see what you guys have going on. Anything that can help me help that person that is in need. It's just an added bonus that I get to make some money on it. Right.
100%.
Thanks so much, David. Guys, go out there and take some mighty action like I'm going to do, and like David is doing and helping so many people in his program, and take some mighty action. Let me put this little cool theme music on. Here we go. Let me see him there.
I don't have one like you did. Thanks, man.
Love it, man. All right, you guys.
We'll see you.
Thanks, David.
Take care.
Guys, don't hesitate to go out and take action. Your life is only what you make it, and there's so many opportunities out there. This is just one of the many opportunities that you can take advantage of. And if you're sitting there thinking like, I don't know what to do, Mike, there's so many different things to do, and I'm getting the shiny object syndrome, and your shirt is so colorful, like, what do? I want to encourage you. Start putting a plan into place. Get a piece of paper out like this. Get a piece of paper out and write in the middle of it the thing that you love the most. Okay. Then I want you to start mind mapping out from there all the things that are associated with that thing. And you will find, you spend enough time on that, just a few hours on that, you're going to start to see that one of the things that I talk about on this channel would benefit you. Okay. If you love real estate, you want to find motivated sellers so you can take advantage of the many different things, ways that you can help them and also earn money, go get a copy of my book. You can go to this link right here, mightymikereed.com, or click the link in my bio. You can get a free copy of my book. It's free for now because it's an ebook. It will not be free forever. And I poured my heart and soul into this book. And as you heard David talk about, he has a free ebook as well. Comment below, I want a copy of both books, and I will send you a direct link to get a copy of both books. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
For more great content like this and your chance to win cash prizes each week live online, visit www.mightymikereed.com. That's www.mightymikereed.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite audio platform. Until next time, take care and live mighty.